Hello, everyone, and welcome to our class meeting for this week. We are starting module 156 today, so we are going to jump right into that. Can everybody see my screen? Perfecto. All right. So, for today's agenda, we're going to go through some quick announcements. We're going to hit up module 156, chapters 1 and 2, because that's what your next test is going to be on. And I think that's not till like next Thursday, if I remember correctly, but we're going to go ahead and talk about it all today. We are going to talk about SimChart, which is something y'all are going to get introduced to in the next few weeks. So today is just going to be a light introduction to what it is and kind of the steps when you go to start playing with it, what that is, and then we'll go hit any questions that you guys may have for me today. All right, announcements. Monday is a holiday, 3-day weekend. Yay. Everybody have a great weekend. Make good choices. Be safe, happy, healthy, and blessed. Have a good time. And we'll see y'all back here on Tuesday. Your grades are being finalized for module 156. We wrapped that up yesterday. I did, and this is just for my class. I don't know how Miss Danielle's class does it. I did have quite a few people who had not taken the final exam yet, so I did extend that out for another 24 hours for anybody who needs to still complete that. Because guys, it was the biggest test that we had in that module, and there weren't a lot. It was those short modules. Every point counts. Every point counts on those short modules. Okay. So if you did not do that, please jump in there and get that done today for me so I can finalize grades and get them off to Miss Franny. And again, we started module 156 today, so yippee yippee. And NCCT prep is resuming on Tuesdays at 4 for about the next couple of months or so until we build up our library. If you were at NCCT on Tuesday, you heard me talk about how we're going to be rolling out a new way of doing NCCT prep. So y'all, we will be continuing on with that on Tuesdays until we get that library built up. Let's see. All right, so module 156, the electronic health record. As y'all can see here, we are switching textbooks. This is what the book looks like for textbook. You have a different book for SimChart, and there is a workbook / study guide that goes along with the electronic health record. But if I remember correctly, the covers do not match. I think it's like a plain white cover with just some text on it, if I remember correctly. I do not expect to assign y'all much out of the workbook. A little bit here and there, I think, comes out the first couple of weeks, but that's about it. And let's see. And those, of course, can be found on Evolve. We'll be using SimChart to complete lab assignments later on in 156, and all of 157 is done in SimChart, okay? It's a software simulator where you will practice on the same type of software that you will see in a medical office. Once you get into SimChart, it is going to be like if you walked into a medical office and you went behind the desk and turned on their computer in the morning and clocked in, this is what you would see. A piece of software exactly like what we're going to show you and what you're going to get to play around with. It is really cool. And it kind of takes the place of an externship, if y'all are familiar with what that is. And basically, what this does for you guys is it gives you the experience when you finish the program, and you, even those of you who've never worked in a medical office, you can go to a job interview and they ask you, have you ever worked on an EHR? Are you familiar with the computer systems we're going to be using? You can say, yes, I have had, 4 to 6 weeks of solid experience working in an EHR systems. I know what it's all about. Okay, it's going to give you that confidence. You won't be walking into something you've never seen before, right? And this will give you a good idea of what to expect on your job day to day. So any questions about module change, textbook change, any of that? No? Beautiful. All right, so In chapter 1, the first thing you're going to read, and what module 156 and 157 are all focused around, is a health record, the patient health record. And it says a patient health record is a complete collection of an individual's healthcare information. Federal laws have been put in place that require all patient care to be documented in a health record. Although paper records can still be found, the vast majority of healthcare providers are documenting patient care in an electronic health record or an EHR, right? Which is the software that we're going to be looking at. All right, so that's basically just like it says, a collection of that patient's information. And health records have been around, you guys will read this in the textbook, for a couple thousand years. They've been, there are health records that they have dated back to 2000 BC, where doctors or physicians or whoever at that time, caretakers, were writing down who they treated for what illnesses and injuries. And a lot of the health records nowadays are used, there's patient tracking to where like COVID, when COVID hit, it was getting documented in health records so that the CDC could keep up with how fast people were getting this virus, right? So these health records have not only a way of keeping an individual's health information together, but it lets us do research and gives us data so that the medical industry can keep on growing and advancing in different things, right? So they're very important, and that's why it's important that they're accurate too. We always want to be as accurate as possible, because it is primarily our job to put in these records for a lot of the providers, right? Somebody in the office, when the patient goes to see them, will give the records to us. We bill it, we code it if necessary. We maintain those records and notes. Documentation is key. So let's talk about real quick, who owns it? Who owns the patient health record? So it says health records are considered the property of the individuals who created them. For example, a provider in a private practice owns the records created in his or her own practice. The patient, because it's their health information, the patient has a legal right to access or view a copy of his or her own medical information at any time by signing a medical release form. However, the original copy of the record never leaves the facility that owns it. And the reason for this, we're going to talk about more in a few minutes, is retention. When you treat a patient, when you file medical claims, you have to keep that documentation as to why you filed those claims. And if you let the records walk out the door, then we have no backup. Now, when I worked for a third-party billing office, one of the ways they kept records, some of the offices, the doctor's offices, would send us like files of paper correspondence that they got in the mail, right? We would scan those and put them into the computer so we have it digital, but we would also make a paper file. Like there was one entire 15-foot span of filing cabinets in this building because we kept different paper records for so many different providers. We had 4 departments in our company. I worked for one department, and just my department handled 22 separate accounts, which those could have been individual doctors, facilities, hospitals, groups of doctors, 22 different accounts. And we held documentation for a lot of those. And some, we would do a monthly purge where you take all the files out that the retention has passed. You can get rid of those. We purge those, shred them. We always shred them because HIPAA, right? We don't want anybody's health information getting away because of us. We always shred. And your company will provide you a shred bin to drop your stuff in when it comes time to do that. That may or may not be part of your job description, depending on where you go to work. But so let's say a patient moves and they call your office and they're like, hey, I want my records. I want to come pick up my records so I can bring them to my new doctor where I'm moving to. What do we tell them? What do you guys think would be the correct response for that kind of call from a patient?
I would think that the office would maybe fax it over, scan it over, something like that, or
That's correct.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
correct. We can make copies. We can make copies and give her copies all day long. Now, some offices charge for that because it takes time, it takes supplies. They can charge a patient for a copy to make copies of their records, but we do have to give it to them in some kind of way. But we never let go of those original documents. Those never leave our office. We'll send them copies. We'll make copies, everything in that paper file, and fax it to wherever she wants, email it to whatever, wherever she wants us to send it. We will do that as long as she signs a release and pays whatever fees the provider's office may want to charge. But that's correct. That's correct. Very good, Miss Kelly. All right, any questions about what a health record is or ownership rights? Anything like that? All right. So one of the major things they talked about in chapters 1 and 2 were the different systems, and you guys got thrown a whole lot of abbreviations. So we have EMR, EHR, and PMS, okay? So your EMR is an electronic health record that allows the management of a patient's health information by authorized clinicians and staff members within a single healthcare organization. An EMR is an electronic version of a paper record. So a great example of this, the doctor that I go to is part of Ochsner. And I don't know if any of y'all have seen Ochsner doctors before, but they have this app or website that I can sign on called My Ochsner. And all of my doctors at Ochsner have access to my records, what meds I'm on, when the last time I saw my doctor was. And for me, I'm diabetic. So I go to the doctor every 3 months and we keep a close eye on my meds, my weight, my sugar. All these things are all documented in their EMR, their electronic management. Okay. So they can see, make changes, make notes, add to my records, whatever they need to do from the EMR. Okay. Now, an EHR is an electronic health record that allows for the management of a patient's health information. Okay, yeah. Information by multiple healthcare providers and stores the patient's contact information, legal documents, demographic data, administrative information. The term can also refer more broadly to a system that manages such records. So an EHR is the software that the doctor's offices use to store their patient records that they see all the time. Okay. And it's not just about patient records. An EHR is about billing. It's about coding. It's about documentation, storing forms, legal forms, all the different things that the doctor's office has to keep to stay legal and compliant and CY basically. Everything that they got to hold on to legally, plus the health information for the patient. Okay. All right, so a PMS, software used in a medical office to accomplish administrative non-clinical tasks. That means it does not have to do with patient care, okay? Including entry of patient demographics, record keeping for insurance, and other billing transactions, appointment scheduling, and advanced accounting functions. Like I said, the PMS is more for the back end of the medical office, accounts receivable, payable, things like that, deposits, withdrawals from the bank, stuff like that. They're handling all the back end business functions, not really the medical functions, not clinical care, but the business functions for that office. All right. And I know they're kind of close. Their definitions are pretty close. You know, they're all systems for managing different things. But there is, you know, subtle differences in each one. But the main one that you need to concern yourself with, the main one we're going to look at is the EHR. That's what you guys are going to see the most of, because you're going to see it every single day at work. Every single day. All right. So when information is found in a health record, so the way that most EHR systems break it down, and definitely the way that SimChart does, we break it down into different functions or tasks. We have clinical, administrative, and then legal. Okay. And under the clinical section, that could be like everything to do with the patient's health information, their allergy list, shot records, progress notes, surgical reports, lab tests, all that kind of information. Okay. Vital signs, chart growth, all these different things. The administrative side of it is more the patient demographics, their contact information, their insurance information, any correspondence that they send us, if they send us anything in the mail, anything like that, claims forms that we file on that patient, copies of insurance cards, everything that lets us do what we need to do in the office, all of that information. Okay. And then the legal. Then the legal section is going to hold your release forms, consent forms, and privacy notices. And you'll see, when you first go to a doctor, they give you that big, thick, and sometimes big, thick new patient packet that where you got to sign your life away 50 different times. A lot of that is kept in the legal part because that's all the consents, disclosures, notices, all that kind of stuff. That's all considered in the legal realm. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. And y'all will notice too, when you get to SimChart, it's kind of, there's a menu up at the top that kind of breaks it down into which tasks that you want to do. There's clinical, administrative. I don't think there's legal. I think there's like one that's forms. But I'm pretty sure there's clinical, like forms, and then something else. I'm not sure if it's administrative or it's labeled differently, but that's kind of how they break it down into your different tasks. And the great thing about SimChart too is that all this EHR software, there are hundreds of different types of EHR software out there, hundreds, but they all have the same functions, right? They're all capable of taking patient information. They're all capable of storing insurance data. They're all capable of helping you file claims, right? They all have a documentation system in there so you can take notes. They all function the same way. They just may look a little bit different depending on what company made it. Okay. All right, so let's talk about patients and records for just a little bit. All right, so patient status is another thing that they talk about in 1 and 2. And it says an active patient are established patients who have seen a physician or any healthcare provider in the group within the past 3 years. So their file is going to be active if they have seen anybody in your practice or your group in the last 3 years. They're going to stay in active status. Okay. An inactive patient are those who have not been seen in the past 3 years. And that's by the same provider or any in the group also. Okay. It goes both ways. So 3 years is that cutoff for inactive and active. A closed patient record are the records of those patients who will not be returning to the practice. That is, they are deceased. They're no longer with us, or have not been seen in at least 10 years, or as long as required by federal, state, or local regulations. It can vary state from state. They have different regulations. Whatever office you go to work for should know what it is for that state. Again, it's for patients that pass away or move away, have not been seen in a decade. So closed patient records. And record retention is another thing that they talk about pretty heavily. And there's an awesome chart that they give you on there. The retention period is the amount of time records must be kept or retained in storage by a medical office. Table 2.1 in your textbook shows the recommended retention time for paper files. Okay, retention time for EHR systems is specified by law and varies from state to state. So, like I was telling y'all, those 15-foot of file cabinets that we had, our different records, we had different time links that different records got kept. And that's what we go through and we purge every month as things expired. But it's a law. If something comes back, your provider gets sued, they have something crazy comes back from years ago, and don't think that that's outside the realm of happening, because it happens daily. It happens daily. Medicare is the worst for coming back and taking a stinking payment a year later. They'll pay on something and then come take it right back a year later, and then the timely filing has expired, and we have no recourse for getting that money back. We just lose it. We have no choice. Medicare, don't get me started. But it's not fair, but it is what it is. And that list, that chart for the retention, is found on page 29 in your textbook. And I think tomorrow, either today's or tomorrow's lab is based on that. So just a heads up there. All right. So internet use in the medical office. The internet is a great resource for the medical office. In addition, members of the healthcare team may use it to locate testing centers for patients, identify appropriate clinical trials, find links to community support groups, and print patient education material. It may be tempting, but you should confine personal web browsing and mobile device usage to your own time, using computers unconnected with your place of employment. All right. Now, one of the things that we tell y'all all the time is that the internet, you're going to be on the internet at work and doing your job. It's just inevitable. Probably at least once a day, you'll have to pull up Google, some insurance's website, Medicare's website, something to get some information or find out something, right? Do not use it for personal use. I'm going to repeat that. Do not use it for personal use. It is tempting to just pop open a tab and check your email or, something. Clear it with your supervisor first. Like if you need to print out a form for your kid's school thing and it has to be done today and whatever, get with your supervisor. More often than not, they'll let you do what you need to do. Just don't take advantage of it. Don't let it be an all the time thing. They do not like that. And here's the other thing. The computer systems that you're going to use at work are connected to, they may be connected to hospital systems. They may be connected to huge server farms that contain patient information. If you get hacked, if there is a data breach, a huge data breach, and they trace it back to your workstation, because you clicked on a spam link, you went to a website you might not should have been at, and you got spammed or phished or whatever you got, and they trace it back to your computer, that will cost you your job. That will cost you your job. I have not ever seen that happen because it was always real clear to us, and your employer will tell you the same, that if that happens, you will lose your job. It's part of maintaining HIPAA. Our systems need to remain secure. Once you get to a medical office, you will not send an email out of there that is not secure or encrypted in some way, shape, or form, so that data does not go anywhere. Okay, security is huge, and getting worse every day, because the hackers are out there, they are active, and they are working. Okay, so just take Ms. Brandy at her word. If you don't take anything away from today's lesson, don't use your work computer for personal stuff, okay? All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about accessing SimChart, even though you guys are not gonna be doing this for a couple of weeks, but you will see a link come available for my class. Miss Danielle, I know Miss Danielle usually does not get her students into SimChart until the very end of 156, the beginning of 157. I do it different. I like to get y'all in there at the end of 156 so y'all are good and comfortable by the time we get to 157 and you have assignments that you have to complete in there. So I like to start talking about it a little bit early because it is a process. It is a process for y'all to get access to this, okay? So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna turn off your pop-up blockers. And if you forget, that's okay, because you'll have another opportunity where you're gonna be like, this page is blank, and it's blank because you didn't turn off your pop-up blocker, essentially. So your pop-up blockers need to be turned off. A laptop or a desktop is best, but I have had like 1 or 2 students that have gotten it to work on a tablet. But I say do it on a computer, guys. Do it on a computer. Tablets just do not have full functionality like a computer does, and a computer is what you're going to be working on at your job. You're not going to be 9 times out of 10. The only tablets available in a provider's office are the ones they're given to patients to do their information at check-in. Okay, so get used to doing stuff on a computer. And you will need to get a code from Evolve to redeem in Moodle to access SimChart. All right, I have a handout, a PDF handout that I'm going to be making available to you. It's also going to be listed right there under or with the link. And I'm also going to do a video that's going to walk y'all through how to access it. But it's not super hard, but there are a couple of steps that if you miss, you could get thrown off. So you go to Evolve, you find the SimChart book. Actually, let's do this. All right, so to redeem the access code, you log into Evolve and go to your ebooks. You find the SimChart from the medical office book. It's got this green and white cover over here. Okay, this is what it looks like. Click the access code instructions. You got to get the access code. So you're gonna have to click on the 3 little dots. It's gonna bring you up a little menu and it says access code instructions. You click that and it's gonna bring you up a little window, another little temporary window that's gonna allow you to copy the access code. Okay, you copy the code so you can paste it later into Moodle. All right, so after you have your code, you jump back into Moodle, click the launch SimChart button or link that's right there under announcements, and it will open another page. It may, if you're not already signed into Evolve, it may ask you to sign into Evolve, and then it'll bring up this page here. It'll say redeem or purchase content. You paste that code in the redemption box and you have to click submit like 1 or 2 times, maybe 2 or 3. It's a few times. It'll bring you through a couple of windows. Click submit, 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 and then you should be good to go. If your pop-up blocker is off, the page will automatically open. Another tab will open and SimChart will pop up. If it is not, you will see this page, but it'll be blank. It'll just say SimChart for the medical office in like that red or orange text, and it will have nothing else. So if you get that page, turn off your pop-up blocker and refresh it, and it should work just fine. Okay. So that's the rough overview of how to get in SimChart. Like I said, I'm going to give y'all some more detailed instructions that's going to be available in Moodle for you. Those of y'all that are not in my class, I am going to give that same video and handout to the other instructors for them to pass out to their students as well. So, and if y'all are going through that process and you have questions, do not hesitate to get with me. I can walk you through it quick as all may be. Don't sit there for hours and stress yourselves out about it not working, okay? Just get with me and say, hey, take a picture of it with your phone and text it to me and say, what do I do next? And I'll be like, do this. And we'll get you in there, okay? Any questions about accessing SimChart? And like I said, we'll get more detailed on that in the next week or so. I think that's it for today, guys. Yeah. All right, so questions, concerns, anything? No? No?
I've already started like taking my notes and stuff for this module, so
That's awesome. That is awesome. It's y'all, this, like, me and Miss Danielle love it because it's not hard stuff and it's interesting, and it's more of like coding. We spend so much time in coding, but it is so not the biggest part of this program, or the most important part in my mind to this program. We spend a lot of time on it because it takes time to get the process down. But this is the stuff that you guys are going to deal with and need to know on a daily basis. How the medical office flows, how the paperwork flows, how the money flows. And we're about to go over all that. Yep. how the money flows is one of my favorite things. We call it the revenue cycle. It's how that the money works its way through the office, and what each person's job and each step in the process is connected. And if this person messes up, it affects on down the line. But it's good stuff. It's some of our favorite material to cover. We get a little bit creative with it in the way we do things. Like one of the things I'm working on, because one of the things we have what's called advisory board 2 times a year, where we get local employers, people who are hiring medical billers and coders. They come and sit down with us, and we did it in July. I went to Lafayette and we sat down with the head of a hospital. We sat down with a lady that works for an outsourced billing company, one that works for an insurance company, different people that hire our students. And we give a presentation. We tell them what we cover, what we teach you guys, what you're learning in this program. And then we get feedback from them on what they're looking for in new hires, what they may need us to teach y'all that we might not have said in our presentation. And they ask us questions, and we give them the deets, and they tell us, what they're looking for. And that way we have a better idea of what you guys need to know going forward, right? Because I haven't interviewed for a job in over 2 years. So what somebody asked me 2 years ago at a medical billing job interview may be slightly different. The market may be a little bit different. The industry may have adjusted a little bit, and they may need a focus in a certain area. And one of the things they advised us to focus on was getting you guys more comfortable talking to insurance companies, making those phone calls. And I remember that was the number one most intimidating thing when I started this career. When I started in this industry, the first time they told me to call Medicaid, I was like, what? You want me to call who? Talk to who? Now, what's great about Medicaid, it's a pretty small office. So every day I would call Medicaid, and I either talk to Pam or I talk to Cora. I don't know if they were just the Medicaid officers in charge of my area, but every time I called, I talked to one of them 2 ladies. And after about 6 months to a year, they knew who I was when I called, and I was like, hey, Miss Cora, this is what I need today. And she's like, all right, baby, let me help you out. What you got? So you get to know people, and it gets more comfortable over time. It really does. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to come up with some type of scenario scripting thing where I can be the insurance agent, because they'll try to get over on you. They will try to talk over you. They really will. And steamroll you. They have a script that they go off of, and they will sit there and continuously repeat the script at you. So one of the funnest things about medical billing that I found, we had 16 people working in a room, right? 16 cubicles of women. And you could tell when somebody was getting frustrated with the insurance company, because their voice would start to go up octaves, and they would just get louder from across the room. So what would eventually happen, as this one person gets louder, everybody else stops what they're doing, and we just listen. Get them. Because we would get so frustrated, because we get people who read off these scripts. And I'd be like, ma'am, if you can't step off the script, I need you to put me on the phone with somebody who can. Somebody who's got a little bit more experience, and explain this to me like I need it explained. And I've even gone so far as to be like, ma'am, apparently you and I have a communication barrier. Just put somebody else on the phone. Anybody, it doesn't matter who. I don't care if you put the janitor on the phone, just anybody but you. Because we can't talk to each other, apparently. I mean, it gets like that sometimes. But the important thing is to maintain that professionalism, and they can hear it in your voice when you're not confident and you're not 100% on what you're talking about. And they will jump on it. So I'm trying to come up with a way where we can do some back and forth and get you guys a little more comfortable with that. Because that is one of the most intimidating things about this job when you start out, is calling the insurance company. And then it can be one of the most frustrating things, because if you ever, God help you, if you have to call the VA, because it's going to be 45 minutes of hold music before you even talk to a person. 45 minutes of sitting there listening to hold music. Now, the great thing about most of these billing offices and working in the back end of a medical office is that you're sitting back there at your little desk with your little scrubs and your sneakers and your earbuds, and you're listening to your music and you're doing your thing all day. And it's fabulous. So you got whole music in one ear, Tupac in the other, and you're just doing your thing while you're waiting for somebody to come on the line. You can't ever just sit there for 45 minutes and wait. You got other things you got to be doing at the same time. But it's not hard to do. It's not hard to do. But not everybody has the patience to do it. Not everybody does. Which is why it's specialized, you know. All right. Any questions or concerns for me before we get out of here for today?
No, ma'am.
Good. Good, Clarissa. Miss Jazz, how you doing today? She might be at work or something. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for today. Have a really wonderful holiday weekend. Enjoy it. You know, spend that good time with friends and family. I'm gonna enjoy it.
Hey y'all.
Hey, Jazz. I'm not sure what happened to Miss Danielle's class today, if they didn't get the link or what happened, but it was nice. It was nice just our class. All right, folks.
Well,
Y'all
that's
have a blessed evening, and I will talk to y'all next week.
Sounds good.
I'll too.
Bye.
Y'all have a happy weekend.
You too.